It's time for another Blender challenge, and this one is to create everyday objects. And so I'm going to be making this cartoon style broom here with some really interesting techniques. And we'll do a procedural wood on this. It just is something cute this time and easy to do. All right, so over here in Blender, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using curves to start with. I'm going to lay down a curve path, and I'm going to edit mode, and I'm going to let's turn on this. Let's rotate Z 90. Let's rotate X. Rotate X 90 as well. I'm going to bring this up off of the floor. So I've got that. That's going to form my mop or my broom. I'm also going to bring in a curve Bezier circle and pull that over here. And this, I'm going to select my circle here. So in the curve dialog box, I'm going to come down to geometry, and under bevel, I'm going to choose object, and here I'm going to choose that Bezier circle. And you can see what happens right off the bat. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to select that point first off, and I'm going to press Alt S and push. And that's going to make that smaller. I'm going to select that one, do the same thing, and start just to get the shape of this thing. Alt S on this one and make it bigger. Maybe I'll grab this one, Alt S. All right, so we have sort of a cone. All right, now I'm going to come over here, go into edit mode, and select these 2 points here. I'm going to scale in the Y and watch what happens here. All right, so you can see the power of this. I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to subdivide. Now I'm going to select this point and this one and this one and this one, and I'm going to press V, free. I'm going to select these points. I'm going to look from the top, and I'm going to press G, and I'm going to pull them out a little bit. These 2 points, G, and pull them out a little bit, and they don't have to be exact. I'm just going to be going around. G, pull them out. These ones, pull them out, and come back to this one. Maybe I'll pull this one out a little bit like that, and you can see what's already happening to this shape. All right, and come back into this one here, and take these 2 points and pull them down a little bit. Maybe this one. Maybe I'll Alt S this. You know, start to create the mob sort of shape. Back here, I'm going to select these 2 points, and I'm going to convert them to free, and take this one and pull them out a little bit. These 2 points and pull them out. So slide that down a bit. And let's also take these ones and make sure that they are free. Take these 2, pull them out, and these 2 and pull them out. And it looks a little bit, I guess, like a cloud. So you can imagine you could make some kind of a lampshade, a dress. Obviously, you could make a pumpkin, various types of fruit. All right, so there's plenty of things that you could do with this method. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to do some more work. We're obviously going to create the handle or the stick there, but first of all, we're going to go into the shading tab. I'm going to click New. I'll call this I'll call it a mop. I don't know if it's a mop or a broom or what. All right, let's come over here. Now we're going to need a noise texture. I'll press Control T, and I'm going to drag UV in here. Now, let's Shift Control click on there. Let's change the scale here to 0.1, and watch this. 5. I don't know if you saw the darkening parts here. We're going to add a color ramp. Drop it in there, and on this we're going to create some colors. So let's go for Get rid of that one. And we'll have that. Let's take this and plug it into the Principled. You start seeing some very nice effects. Let's start with that, and then we're going to use this to also drive the bump. I'm going to take the color into the height and plug the normal in. Now we can start seeing some detail on here. Now watch what happens when I change this the detail. Put that at 3. Put that at 4. It really starts to come out and start looking like strands. Put that on 6. All right, cool. The next thing I'm going to do is add a gradient texture. I'm going to come from the UV here into that. Shift Control click on that to preview it. Let's add a color ramp on here. I'm going to flip it. Try ease. All right, so I get that. I'm going to come back and I want to mix these together. So use a mix RGB here. And let's just focus on the Principled for the moment. I'm going to drag this into the factor and switch this to, you can try a few different things. I'm going to try overlay and change this color. Darken it up. I think maybe I'll flip this color ramp around so I'll have it darker up there. So get some really nice effects here with this. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply this. So I'm going to come back to the curve. I'm going to switch the resolution to 4, and I'm going to convert this to a mesh. I don't need that anymore. I'm going to come in here, Shift Alt and click that edge. I'm going to extrude up one, right click, Loop Tools, Circle. I'm going to scale in. I may even choose Relax, and I'm going to bring my 3D cursor right there. Now I'm going to bring in a cylinder. I'm going to switch to 16, scale it in the Z, scale it globally, and just start figuring out where I want this. I think probably around there. And pull it up a little bit. Okay, let's take the bottom face and the top face and Control B to bevel, roll up 1, something like that. Shade smooth and Control 1. So I've got that piece. And I think I will take this and extrude it up. And then I'll bevel there. Bring one edge loop down. All right. This piece is a little bit too big, so I'm going to scale Shift Z. I'll scale it in the Z. Let's make it smaller so it sort of fits the theme. I'll just keep scaling it until I get the size that I like. Yeah, I like that. Something like that. For this one, I'm just going to create a new material. I'll call this metal. And we'll make it really simple. We'll just darken the color, increase the metallic, but I'm not going to go all the way because I want this to be sort of cartoony. I'll drop the roughness. Just something like that. Okay. I'm going to come in. I'm going to select there, I think. and I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it and pull it up, P to break it out. Take that piece, scale it down. I'm going to take off the subdivision, might use it, might not. I'm going to put it about there, look from the front and extrude it up. And I don't want it to go too high because I want it to, again, to be cartoony. I'm going to scale it out a bit and Control B and pull quite a bit to about there, and then roll my mouse up so it's nice and round on the end. Now we obviously don't want that material, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to come in and I'm going to scale Shift Z to make it thinner, and then just look at it and decide. Maybe I'll come in here and we'll get rid of the bottom face, which we don't need. Take this and push it back in and decide if that's about right. Create a new material. We'll call this wood. I'm going to need a Musgrave texture and a wood texture and a noise texture when we're making wood. Control T on this one. Plug this in here. We're going to bring this into a color ramp. And this one, let's plug this right in here. You can start to see some effects. I'm going to add another one. And this one I'm going to put all the way down. To make it look like wood, a little bit more like wood, I'm going to stretch this. I'm going to put that on 5, and the Y I'm going to do 50, quite a bit. Starts looking like this. Let's bring the detail up here. Let's bring the scale down. Let's change the roughness to 0.8 and the distortion to 0.8. Let's come over to the Musgrave now. Change this to about 1.3. And leave those on 2. Could change these values a little bit and experiment. Let's try 30. Okay. Let's also plug this into the subsurface color. Bring this up maybe to 0.65. Just changing things up just a little bit. All right, we're not done with that. Okay, let's get a bit of bump on there. Let's take the fact from the noise, put it in that into the height. Let's lower this down to about 0.2. I'll try 0.3 first though. Plug that into the normal. I'll just take this one. And I'm going to reset this. and take the FAC into a color ramp, and we'll bring that into the roughness. And then we'll start playing with this. I'm going to switch this to object, and there is our wood. And then you can tweak it as you decide you like. I'm going to come back to here, to the mop itself, and we can try, maybe we'll flip this back so we get the darkness down there. I think that looks kind of interesting. All right. All right, cool. Let's bring in a circle. Scale it up. F to make face. Control 1. Call this floor. Go into the shading tab. We're going to use a Voronoi texture. And Control T. A color ramp. Plug the distance into the color ramp. Shift click there. Just to make it look like there's some spots on the floor. Bring them real close, and then just decide what's, how you want them. I want them kind of disarrayed. I don't want too many of them. So, and then the position of these will also impact that. So maybe like that. Some little spots of dirt on there. All right, shift click on the principal. Let's bring that into the base color, and I'll make it sort of metallic and drop the roughness. And come back over here. What I need to do, because I'm doing this in Eevee, I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion 0.5, and we'll change that to 2, and we'll put on bloom and screen space reflections. That's one that we're going to really need. Okay. Turn off bloom for the moment, and come over here, raise that up so it's nice and shiny. Now we're going to need some light in here, some other light. I'm going to bring in a sun and just rotate it like that. And I'll change the sun to maybe just 2, a slightly yellowish color. And I'll turn on scene lights. Okay, so we get that. Let's bring in an environment as well. Environment texture, open HDRI. I'm going to use this Cape Hill 2K HDR. Let's see the scene world. Now you can see the reflection and some nice color on this cartoon mop. All right, and I think the last thing that I would do is I'll go back to the shading tab just for rendering and viewing purposes. And I'm going to duplicate this down, and we'll add a mix shader. I'll throw that into there, and then add input light path. Choose is camera ray, the top one, into the FAC. There. And then we will get that background color that we choose here. All right, have to look in rendered view. that is our cartoon mop with procedural wood and this cool part right there. All right, everyday object made in a cartoony style.